Welcome to Unknown Facts. We're always told honesty is the best policy, but what happens when telling the truth actually lands you in trouble? Today, we're diving into real stories where kids chose honesty and paid the price. These aren't simple tales, they challenge what we teach about right and wrong. Childhood isn't always fair, and these stories prove it. So get comfortable, you won't want to miss this. And if you find these stories eye-opening, hit that subscribe button. Our first story is about Sarah, a second grader who loved recess. One day during a wild kickball game, the ball crashed through a library window. The playground fell silent. Kids scattered, except Sarah. She knew her best friend Amy had kicked the ball, but when the teacher demanded answers, Amy hid. Sarah could have walked away, but her parents had always told her to be honest. Torn between loyalty and truth, Sarah made a choice. She took the blame herself, whispering, "I did it, it was an accident." The teacher didn't care about the details, just the confession. Sarah was marched to the principal's office and lost recess for a month. Watching her friends play while she sat inside, Sarah felt the sting of injustice. Amy never came forward or thanked her. Sarah learned a painful lesson. Sometimes honesty means facing consequences alone. The world didn't reward her virtue, it punished it. For a kid who lived for the playground, the cost was huge. The silence from her friend hurt most of all. Sarah's honesty left her isolated, confused, and questioning the rules she'd been taught. She realized that doing the right thing isn't always recognized or appreciated. Sometimes, it just leaves you sitting alone, wondering if it was worth it. The lesson stuck with her for a long time. In the end, Sarah's story is a reminder. Honesty can be lonely, and the right choice isn't always the easy one. But she stayed true to herself even when it hurt. That's a kind of courage we rarely talk about. And it's a lesson that's as real as it gets. Sometimes the truth costs more than we expect, but it's still worth telling. Tim, a fifth grader, faced a tough moment during his group project. He realized he'd made a small mistake in his research while presenting. Instead of ignoring it, Tim paused and corrected himself in front of everyone. His group was upset, and the teacher saw it as a lack of preparation. Their grade dropped and Tim got detention for disrupting class. Tim's honesty cost him friends and grades, but he couldn't bring himself to lie, even for an easy A. Sometimes, honesty is lonely, but it matters. In the end, Tim stayed true to himself, and that's what really counts. Now let's talk about Emily, a quiet first grader who usually avoided playground chaos. One day she tried the big slide, but a push from an impatient boy, Mark, sent her stumbling. In the confusion, she accidentally knocked off Mark's glasses, which broke at the bottom of the slide. Mark immediately blamed Emily, claiming she pushed him on purpose. The teacher, Miss Albright, saw a crying boy and broken glasses, an easy story to believe. Emily tried to explain. Mark pushed her first and it was an accident. But her voice was small and the teacher had already decided. Emily was told to apologize and sent to the principal's office. She was labeled the aggressor, her honesty ignored. Emily spent recess alone, punished for an accident she didn't cause. Mark, the real instigator, was comforted. Emily learned that sometimes the truth gets drowned out by louder voices. The simple story wins, and honesty is overlooked. She realized that telling the truth doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it just leaves you misunderstood and alone. Emily's experience taught her that fairness isn't guaranteed. The world can be quick to judge, slow to listen, but she spoke up anyway, even when it didn't help. That takes courage. Emily's story is a reminder. Honesty is hard, especially when no one wants to hear it. But it's still worth trying, even if the world doesn't always listen. Because the truth matters, even when it's ignored. And that's a lesson worth remembering. For Emily, honesty was its own quiet victory. Meet Jake, a third grader trusted with his own lunch money for the first time. He lost it, just a few dollars, but it felt like a disaster. When lunchtime came, Jake realized the money was gone. Panicked, he confessed to his teacher, Mrs. Gable, hoping for help. Instead, she scolded him in front of his classmates for being irresponsible. No help searching, no spare lunch ticket, just public embarrassment. Jake was left hungry and ashamed, his honesty met with criticism, not support. Eventually, the lunch lady gave him a basic meal, but the damage was done. Jake learned that admitting mistakes can lead to humiliation, not understanding. He became afraid to take responsibility for anything valuable. The lesson? Sometimes honesty is met with judgment, not empathy. Jake's story shows how easily a child's trust can be shaken. He tried to do the right thing but was punished for it. The world didn't reward his honesty, it made him feel small. But Jake's courage to admit his mistake is something to admire. Even when it's hard, telling the truth matters. Jake's experience is a reminder. Kids need support, not shame when they're honest. Mistakes are part of growing up, and honesty should be met with kindness, not scolding. For Jake, the lesson was harsh, but it's one we can all learn from, because honesty deserves encouragement, not punishment, and every kid deserves a second chance. Mia, a sixth grader, poured her heart into her science fair project. She discovered a tiny error in her data. One day, she forgot to water a plant. The mistake didn't change her results, but it bothered her. When the judges arrived, Mia chose honesty. She pointed out the error, expecting praise for her integrity. Instead, her project was disqualified for compromised results. No recognition for her honesty, just disappointment and exclusion. Mia was devastated. Her hard work was dismissed over a small, honest mistake. She learned that in some competitions, perfection is valued over truth. Admitting flaws can cost you everything, even when it's the right thing to do. Mia's story is a tough lesson. Honesty isn't always rewarded, but she stayed true to her values, even when it hurt. That's real scientific integrity. Mia's courage to be transparent is what science is all about. Even if the judges didn't see it, her honesty mattered. Sometimes the world punishes truth-tellers. But Mia's story reminds us, integrity is more important than winning. The right thing isn't always the easy thing. And honesty, even when costly, is never wasted. That's a lesson worth remembering. Lucas, a fourth grader, loved the library more than anything. One day, a rainstorm damaged a book he'd borrowed. An accident, but the pages were warped. Lucas could have hidden the damage, but he chose to confess to the librarian, Mrs. Peterson. Instead of understanding, she scolded him and suspended his library privileges. He was fined and banned from checking out books for the semester. For Lucas, this was devastating. His honesty led to harsh punishment. He left feeling like a criminal, not a responsible student. Lucas learned that sometimes rules leave no room for accidents or context. His honesty wasn't rewarded, it was penalized. The lesson? Systems can be unforgiving, even when you do the right thing. Lucas's courage to admit the truth is something to admire. He faced the consequences, even when it hurt. But the world didn't meet him with compassion. Lucas's story is a reminder. Honesty should be met with understanding, not punishment. Mistakes happen, and owning up to them takes bravery. For Lucas, the cost was high, but his integrity remained intact. Sometimes the right thing isn't easy or appreciated, but it's still the right thing. Lucas's story challenges us to be kinder when kids are honest. Because honesty deserves support, not exile. And every reader deserves a second chance. That's a story worth telling. Our final story is about Olivia, a seventh grader struggling with her parents' messy separation. The stress was affecting her at school, and her teacher, Miss Diaz, noticed. When asked, Olivia opened up about her home life, hoping for support. Miss Diaz, following protocol, reported the situation to the school counselor. The counselor contacted Olivia's parents, who turned their anger on Olivia for betraying the family. She was punished at home, isolated, and left feeling completely alone. Olivia's honesty, meant to seek help, only made things worse. She learned that telling the truth about her pain could lead to more suffering. The trust she had with her parents was shattered. Olivia's story is a painful reminder. Sometimes honesty about personal struggles isn't met with understanding. Instead, it can bring backlash and isolation. But Olivia's courage to speak up is powerful. She reached out for help, even when it was risky. That takes strength. Olivia's experience shows that honesty can be complicated and costly. But it's still important to seek support. Her story challenges us to listen and respond with empathy. Because no child should be punished for telling the truth about their pain. Olivia's honesty deserves respect, not retribution, and her story is one we all need to hear. These stories are tough, but they matter. We teach kids that honesty is the best policy, but real life isn't always so simple. Sometimes telling the truth leads to punishment, not praise. The lesson isn't just for kids, it's for adults too. We need to listen, look for context, and reward the courage it takes to be honest, even when it's complicated. Thanks for watching Unknown Facts. These stories are hard, but they're important. We'll see you next time. Good night.